Hey YouTube. So I haven't done a video in a while. I should be getting the bikes ready for winter. Let me get you kind of in this frame here. Adjust the camera out. So, no, it's probably going to be a little washed out, or maybe I should just turn you so that it isn't washed out. So, the reason you winterize your bike is if you're not going to ride it in the winter, there's no reason for the battery to take the extra abuse from just sitting out in the cold. I'm not sure. We're going to ride these again this year, and Karen just told me that she didn't want to put them up yet. Messy hair day. But I just want to go over it. The only real thing you need to do is make sure that your chain's lubed real well, that the bike isn't stored wet. If you store it in the garage that has a vehicle in it that goes out on the salty roads, you are going to have problems with corrosion, because the salt comes into the garage, it vaporizes and goes everywhere. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you're storing your bike in your garage and you park your car in the garage, you're going to have problems with corrosion. So the voltage on the bike is 50 volts right now, and that's a little high to store it. Maybe if I was leaving it in the garage, I might leave it that high because it's going to discharge faster in the cold, but I'm not going to leave it in the garage this year. I did last year. I didn't notice any change in the battery, but I did come out and charge it every 2 weeks. I set a reminder on Google to charge my phone. I charge the bikes every 2 weeks. So I came out and charged the bike every 2 weeks. And I noticed that the voltage would get down in the 50 volt range in 2 weeks when it was cold. But other than the chain, you're going to see some corrosion on the disc if you're in a salty environment. Seawater, salt from the roads and everything. The bike, the brakes worked out great. They are a lot truer than the ones that originally came on the bike, so I'm not having the rubbing issues I was having with the other brakes, especially if I had to brake hard. Well, right now it's rubbing, but it's probably because the brake lever needs to be pulled. Yeah, I got them set pretty tight. It is rubbing a little bit. It wasn't before, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe if the brake isn't returning all the way. It only relies on a little spring to return. And so if I upgrade these brakes, it'll be with another set of mechanical brakes. There is better ones out there with a better return spring that pulls that lever back better. I don't know. It wasn't rubbing when I came home the other day after riding it, and it's rubbing continuously, so I don't know. I may have to adjust it again, but I don't think so. I think it's just needs the lever pulled hard so the brakes return. Because it's rubbing like it's touching. It's like the brake's too tight, and it might be. I just haven't ridden it much. The bike is doing well. We're at 2,500 miles. I haven't bought the replacement parts to change it over to 9-speed yet. I'm still looking at whether I want to put a cassette body on the motor, or if I want to stay with just the freewheel. I'm on the fence about that. The cassette body would make it easier to find appropriate gear ratios, but the freewheel wouldn't cost me as much to do. I think the cassette body adapter for the this motor is $39, and then you have the price of buying the cassette, and if you don't have the tools, you need a chain whip and a cassette tool to take to install and take it off. Unlike a freewheel, once you only need the tool to take it off, and it'll screw on and tighten up without the tool. So you got a little extra cost there. So other than removing the battery for the winter, store the bike closed like you would. Leave your key in the battery after you take it out, so that you're not searching for it in the fall or spring. I mean, if the battery's in there and in the lock position, it'll be in there when you go back to get it. It's a couple of things. If you're doing the wintertime riding, you're going to notice that your wheels may seem a little more warped because the spokes shrink in the wintertime and expand in the summertime. That's why usually when you start having problems with the wheel, the spokes going loose, is almost universally in the springtime after you've ridden all winter, because of the heat makes them longer. So and in the wintertime they contract, so some of them will loosen up a little bit, and that's what it's been in both cases with mine and Karen's bike. Is in the springtime, when it starts getting warm, we notice that it's time to do some wheel truing and tightening up the spokes. So in the wintertime it's not a real problem, but keep that in mind. If you ride your bike all winter, you may find that the first hot day in the springtime that you have a wobbly wheel, spokes are loose. So this is the time to take your bike to the to get it serviced. If you're looking at having somebody else do the service on the bike, there's really not much to service. The front wheel, you can, if you don't want to take the whole bike, pull the wheel off, take it in, and tell them to service the bearings, because that's the only bearing that's serviceable in here. All the rest of them are replacement. If they go bad, you just replace them, because there's no servicing them, and that includes the bottom bracket, back wheel, headset. Those are your main bearing surfaces. There is no bearings in the derailleur. It's a sleeve, a steel sleeve on a screw, so there's nothing there. The more you spin, the more bearings you get on a derailleur. And I'm pretty sure that even on the Alivio that's on the Trex, that they don't have bearings in the jockey wheels, as they call them. They may have a ceramic insert in those, whereas these are just a steel insert. You can increase the efficiency maybe a little bit if you replaced them, but it's not noticeable. This bike has no resistance when pedaling. Yeah, they're both rubbing now. Maybe it's just the cold. It was warm when I went out and rode the bike. Maybe it's just the cold has contracted the cables enough to make it the brakes touch. If so, I'll have to loosen them up. But we'll wait and see until I ride it the first time. So yeah, cold contracts metal, so make things tighter. So if you're so you could maybe increase the efficiency a little bit if you replace those jockey wheels with a sealed bearing, and maybe extend the life of the derailleur a little bit, but that'd be it. Chain cleaning is coming up. I'll do a video. I got the cleaner and I've got the stuff. It's just that when it's this cold out here, I don't really want to get my hands wet, so I have my heated jacket on. Otherwise I probably wouldn't be out here. It's 37, 38 degrees. It's been this way for about a week now. It's either been raining, snowing, or cold enough that I haven't gotten out and ridden for over a week now. Tomorrow will be the first chance we have with some fairly decent winter weather. It's supposed to be in the mid 40s to high 40s, and our cutoff point, both mine and Karen's, is 39 degrees. When it gets below that, it's just not fun. It's a miserable cold ride. So store your bike where you will. You don't need to necessarily store it inside the house. You could store it in a garage, in a shed, but keep in mind the battery should be removed and put in a warm place. It will extend the life of the battery. It won't discharge as fast, and it'll keep you going a few years longer. The reason the battery discharges in the wintertime is not because of the cold, it's because of the BMS. It's an electronic circuit that keeps the battery balanced, and it uses a small amount of energy to keep it, to monitor the battery. So it monitors the battery whether you're using it or not, and it uses a small amount of power. Now batteries will discharge to a very slow rate over time, but with a BMS in the battery, it will discharge faster than one without it. And there is some lithium batteries out there without BMSs in it, but this has a BMS, and that's why it takes so long to do that last 20% of the charge, because that's when it's balancing the battery, and it takes it a while to figure out which cells need more voltage than the other ones. The Treks will likely get ridden again, and it's a lot easier to winterize those. You take the battery, I take a key and I unlock the battery and pull it off the bicycle and carry it into the house, whereas this I have to unfold it, take the battery, unlock the battery, take it out, and fold the bike back together, because you don't want to leave it unfolded, because if you do, you're inviting yourself for a mice or a squirrel or something to get inside that confined space and build a nest. So keep that in mind. You don't want to store the tires at full pressure, so let a little air out of the tires. You don't need them at full pressure over the winter, and then just they're going to need air in the spring probably anyway. Inner tubes are porous. They leak air. No matter how good of inner tube you buy, they're all going to leak air at some point. And that's about it. So store your battery in the house in a warm place. It doesn't have to be in the main part of the house. You put it in the basement. You don't want it in a really hot place. You want it around 80 degrees, probably 68 to 80 degrees. And keep that in mind. If you're riding in the winter, just figure you're going to get 20% less range because of the cold. The battery is less efficient in the cold. Now, if you're wondering why you can drive a car, electric car in the winter, and not this, and well, even electric cars lose range, but they typically have battery heaters on them. The extra power it takes to heat the batteries increases the efficiency enough that it makes it worth the voltage it takes to do it. But on an electric bike, it's just not, it would raise the price. Neighbors having problems getting their dogs in. And on the Bosch ones, it's the same story. These smart chargers that come with this bike, if you left it plugged in, would come on and charge the bike once it got to a voltage that it deemed necessary to charge. So if you're gonna leave your charger plugged in, it will recharge the battery at some point. It'll top it off. The Bosch ones don't. They just charge to the voltage and shut off. So keep that in mind if you're riding a Trek. There hasn't been very many YouTube videos done on it, so maybe I'll do a few more on the Trek and the Lectric. I'm gonna probably slow down a little bit. I did last winter. Maybe you'll see some videos. I've been doing leather working. I did a wallet for somebody for Christmas. I won't say who. They might watch my videos for all I know. So I'm doing some stuff for leather working for some of the people that are far away for Christmas. Got a sewing machine now. I'm still doing some of the hand sewing, but it's slow. I don't do it all at once. So if you're riding in wintertime, I hope you get out there and enjoy the weather. Bikes are fairly safe on snow and some ice, but like black ice is just like a car. It's not the best news for a bike. Tires look like I might get another season out of these ones this year. I'm not going to change them. They're getting down there. They're getting to the point that they're about wore out, but I don't think I'm going to change them this year. I think I'm going to wait until next year and do them both at the same time. Karens look fine. The Treks don't look like they have any wear on them. I think I'm at about 500 miles on the Trek, so I've got 500 on that. I started with 748 on here. I'm 2,500, so 1,800 miles on that, 500. So I did 2,300 miles this year, which is probably pretty good for me. Nothing like I used to. Still working on getting a frame wrap for that battery connector area there, the folding mechanism, to keep the dirt out of it. Because the tire does fling dirt up, and it hits right underneath where the key in the frame folds. So and eventually it will cause some problems in the folding mechanism of every bike, not just mine. I rode it in a lot more wet weather than most people did, and it caused accelerated wear on the painted surfaces on the folding mechanism. That's where I'm getting the creaking from, is where the aluminum pieces are touching. So I'm going to get something made to cover that up, so I don't have that problem in the future, and I don't have to grease it up. Here comes the girls to pick up the dog. Well, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Have a great day.